Hi, I'm Nikki from Find Me Crafting. All year long, I've been releasing free patterns for the Cuddle Buddies Baby Blanket. And now we're ready for the final piece. It is the border of the blanket. This one is very simple to do, but has just enough pizzazz going on to make things interesting. And I'll also demonstrate how to add fabric to the back of the blanket if that's something that you want to do. Come on, I'll show you how.
Let's talk about yarn. You need a worsted weight size 4 yarn. If you were using the same colors that I did, you would want Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn in white, Sungold, and dark country blue. The border is made with a G 4mm hook. And here I have my tiny little sample blanket. We begin the border with the white yarn, and you want to start your stitches 2 stitches from the corner. So if this right here is my corner stitch, I'm going to go over 1, 2, and I'm going to start right here with the border. I've created a slip knot, and I'm going to just chain 1 to attach my white yarn. And now I'm going to work single crochets into every stitch around the outside of my blanket. When you come to one of the joins where you have attached 2 different blocks, you want to put a single crochet before the join, and then you're going to skip over the join and do a single crochet after the join. So you're not going to be working into this section itself. When you come to a corner, you want to do 3 single crochets into that stitch. So there's 1 now in the same stitch, here's 2, and the same stitch, 3, and that's going to help you turn so that now you can work down the opposite side. As you come around to this last stitch, you're going to go down, pull up a loop. You have 2 loops on, but instead of finishing with the white, we are going to finish the stitch with the dark country blue. So pull that through your 2 loops, slip stitch under that first stitch that you did, and chain 1. You can now cut off the white. You could try to carry this up the back. I prefer to cut it off. I think it gives a cleaner look. And now in the same stitch, you just slip stitch 2, we're going to work a single crochet, and we're going to do a single crochet in each stitch around again. So the same pattern. I also did want to point out that this particular little mini blanket that I have going does have a double thick white border. This is going to look different than yours. I demonstrated how to join all the blocks using these. So I already had a border going all the way around my blocks. So yours will look slightly skinnier than this. You will only have 1 row of white versus 2. In the corners, we are once again going to work 3 single crochets into the same stitch, just like we did for the last row. Once you reach the last stitch in this row, you're going to go under the loops as usual, pull up a loop, but instead of finishing off with the blue, you want to finish off with the white so that we can switch to the white yarn. So you grab that and pull it through both loops. We do want to slip stitch over here under the first stitch and chain 1. And now you can cut your blue, you're done with the blue. So let's begin the next row. We want to start with a single crochet. And here's where things get a little bit interesting. We are going to do a spike double crochet. So here's our next stitch. We would normally be going under these loops. We are going to go underneath that entire stitch down into the row before it. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to go underneath what for me is the blue, right underneath the stitch here. I'm going to pull up a loop, and now I want to stretch that loop up here to the row that I'm working on. I'm going to yarn over and go under 2, yarn over under 2 more. And now we have this color spiking down over the last row. We're going to do a single crochet. That is our pattern now, a single crochet and then a spike double. So here is our spike double. We're going to yarn over, and here's the next stitch. So I want to go down underneath that stitch, pull up a loop, pull it up tall, yarn over under 2, yarn over under 2 more. Next step is a single crochet, and I'll show you how to do 1 more spike double crochet. We yarn over. Here's my next set of stitches. So I'm going to go underneath that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, pull it up tall, yarn over under 2, yarn over under 2 more. And I'm going to continue that pattern until I get to a corner. When you come to the corner, you have those 3 stitches that go around the corner. So I'm going to do a single crochet. That's the next step in my pattern. So I had a spike double crochet and a single. Now over this corner stitch right here, I'm going to work 1 spike double crochet. So I'm going to go underneath the blue here, pull up a tall loop, yarn over under 2, yarn over 2 more. Now I'm going to kind of scoot it out of my way. I want to place 3 single crochets underneath the loops of that corner stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm going to turn my work a little bit, and I'm going to place my next spike double crochet into that same hole of the corner. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that same hole that I did the spike double crochet over here. I'm going to pull up a big tall loop, yarn over under 2, yarn over under 2 more. So it should look like that. So now I'm going to just continue with my pattern. It'll be a single crochet, spike double, single crochet, spike double, all the way to my next corner, and I continue around the outside of the blanket. When you get back and you're working your last stitch of that row, we are once again going to pull up some loops, but we're going to finish these off with Sungold yarn. Get all my copious amounts of yarn tails out of the way, sort of. Slip stitch to the first stitch of the row, and you can tighten up your strings on the back. You can cut off the white, chain 1, single crochet in the same stitch as your join, and once again we're going to do 1 single crochet all the way down the row till we get to the corners, do 3 in each corner, and continue around. Once you get back to the last stitch, we are once again going to be switching colors. This time we're changing back to the white. Once again, slip stitch under the first stitch, chain 1. You can cut off the Sungold, we're done with that. And in our last row, we are going to do the repeat of a single crochet and a spike double crochet. And then a single crochet and a spike double crochet down here under this stitch. And as you go, it'll look like this. And you're going to continue all the way around, doing the repeat in the corner as you did on the last row, where you put a spike in that corner stitch, 3 single crochets into that same corner stitch, and then another spike double crochet here, placing the bottom of it in that same stitch. When you get back around, you can just finish the last stitch, slip stitch to the first stitch, and cut this and finish off. All you would have left to do is weave in your ends, and if you have any animal ears or hands that were maybe left unattached because they went off the edge, this would be the time to attach them to the border. If you wanted to add fabric to the back of your blanket, there's some additional supplies that you will need. You will need, of course, some fabric. I'm going to be using fleece. You could also use flannel or cotton. You need a way to cut your fabric. So I'm going to be using a cutting mat, a cutting ruler, and a rotary blade. You could also use scissors. You're also going to want some sewing clips and or pins, a sewing machine, and some matching or coordinating all-purpose thread. Start this process by measuring our blanket, and you want to add 1/2 inch to the width and 1/2 inch to the length for your total measurement. Next up, you want to trim your fabric so it's the right size using that extra 1/2 inch measurement. You want to have the wrong side of your blanket facing up toward you, and you want the wrong side of your fabric facing down toward the blanket. Mine doesn't really have a wrong side, but make sure that if you do, it is facing the wrong side of the blanket. Grab your pins or clips, and what you want to do is roll the edge of your fabric, that 1/2 inch that you left, and clip it to the edge of your blanket. You don't want it to be seen from the front, so you want to just push it back just a little bit behind the edge and clip it all the way around. When you come to a corner, you want to roll it back the 1/2 inch on the side you were working on, and you can turn it if it makes it easier, and then roll it the 1/2 inch from the other side. You will end up with a little bit of bulk here in this corner, but if it's fleece, at least it does squish way down when you sew it, so you won't notice it after the fact. And then just continue working around the blanket. Next up, you want to bring it to your sewing machine, and we are just going to sew with about a 1/8 inch seam allowance all the way around the outside. And I will say, you can do this with a regular sewing foot. I've done it. You do have to kind of manually feed it through the machine, pull it a little bit as it's going through because there's so much bulk of fabric. And if you have a walking foot, that'll make your life a whole lot easier. It'll be much simpler to push it through the sewing machine. And I'm going to be working with the fleece side up just so that I can make sure that I'm catching both the fleece and the crocheted portion of the blanket because this is slightly smaller. So I'm just going to work fleece side up. If you have a stiletto, this can be useful for holding your fabric down as you're sewing just because it's kind of puffy and it tends to swell up around your needle. This border looks great on the Cuddle Buddies blanket and would look great on any other blanket as well. And whether you chose to add fabric or not, this baby blanket is going to be a keeper for sure. Happy crafting!